Good morning. I want to talk to you about something invisible yet world-shaping. It's not a device. It's not a product. It's something far more powerful. Words. Words have built nations. They've started wars. They've created peace. Every product you use, every leader you follow, every belief you hold, started with words. Now, here's the thing most people miss. Words don't describe reality, they create it. When a child is told you're smart, a future opens. When they're told you'll never make it, a door closes. One sentence and a life bends in a different direction. Think about that. You can launch a product, or you can say the right 5 words and launch a movement. Which one lasts longer? The most powerful things we build with language. But with that power comes responsibility, because words don't just build. They can also destroy. A careless phrase can kill a dream. A sarcastic remark can shrink someone's potential. And once a word leaves your mouth, you can't pull it back. So we have to treat words the way we treat design, with intention. Don't just speak, craft. Don't just communicate, connect. We live in a world that moves fast. But the people who win, who really move hearts, teams, and markets, are the ones who speak with clarity and precision. Here's a secret. You don't have to say more. You have to say what matters. Think of your voice as a tool. What you say becomes your brand, your legacy. Choose wisely, because someday all that will remain of what we did is what we said and how it made people feel. Thank you. Words are more than sounds or symbols. They are frameworks. They define how we interpret the world around us. Before action comes thought, and before thought is language. We don't just use words to describe our experiences, we use them to build those experiences in our minds. The language we grow up with, the vocabulary we absorb, and the metaphors we use all become filters that either expand or limit our understanding of reality. Consider how we define success. In one culture, it may be wealth. In another, it may be contribution. The word success is the same, but the meaning is shaped entirely by context, by words used repeatedly around it. The way people talk about work, relationships, even emotions, constructs different worldviews. A society that avoids the word failure will view setbacks differently than one that embraces it as a learning process. That single linguistic difference changes how people take risks. Words determine perception. When we label someone a genius, we create the assumption of inherent superiority. When we call someone resilient, we focus on their effort. The words we choose not only describe individuals but influence how we treat them and how they see themselves. This is especially true in leadership and education. A leader who uses empowering language fosters confidence and vision. A teacher who says you're improving instead of you're not good at this shifts a student's mindset from limitation to growth. Think about the difference between I have to and I get to. One implies obligation, the other privilege. Same task, different feeling. The shift in framing alters motivation. These micro changes in language produce macro changes in behavior. Reframing challenges as problems versus opportunities is not semantic fluff. It directly affects how we approach them. I'm overwhelmed and I'm in demand describe the same reality, but one leads to stress, the other to purpose. Language also influences our relationship with time and identity. In some languages, the future is spoken about as distinct from the present, I will go. In others, the same verb is used for both now and later, I go tomorrow. Research has shown that speakers of these languages tend to treat future events with different urgency, impacting savings behavior, health decisions, and planning. This subtle linguistic feature changes how seriously people treat the future. Words guide how we relate to time itself. In the realm of identity, the words we use internally are no less powerful. Self-talk, the narrative voice in our minds, often operates unnoticed, yet it drives decision-making. Saying to oneself, "I'm not ready," becomes a self-fulfilling barrier. Saying, "I'm learning," reframes the same condition with momentum. People are not just products of their environments. They are products of the words they repeatedly tell themselves. Internal vocabulary shapes external action. Marketing teams understand this intimately. A product isn't just sold through its function, it's sold through the story. That story is crafted in language. The phrase, "think different," isn't descriptive, it's visionary. It invites identity and emotion. It tells the consumer who they are or who they could be with just 2 words. Politicians, movements, and brands rise and fall on the strength of their words, not because words are ornamental, but because they are operational. They lead people to feel, and feeling leads people to act. Even in technology, where logic reigns, language is key. A line of code is a set of instructions, a language given to a machine. The interface you see on a screen is nothing until it is translated into readable words. Submit, retry. Error. The user experience is entirely shaped by how clearly and precisely those words guide the action. Clarity, simplicity, and resonance are not luxuries, they are the difference between engagement and abandonment. Words can clarify or confuse, inspire or isolate. They can align people or divide them. 2 leaders can speak about the same strategy. One leaves a room motivated, the other leaves it muddled. The difference. The words they chose. Clarity is not about oversimplifying, it's about precision. When the right words are chosen, complexity becomes comprehensible. The most effective people in any industry understand that mastery over words is mastery over influence. Words define the world, not only as we see it, but as we shape it. They form the lens through which everything passes. When we understand that, we begin to speak not just to be heard, but to create. Every sentence becomes a design decision, shaping minds, shaping actions, and ultimately shaping the future. Movements don't begin with force, they begin with language. A single phrase can unify millions, shift history, and ignite global change. Words are the matchstick, movements are the fire. If you trace the origin of any significant transformation, civil rights, technological disruption, revolutions, awakenings, you will not find armies first. You will find speeches, declarations, writings, slogans, words spoken at the right time, in the right way, by the right voice. It was not the force of arms that first shook empires, but the force of a sentence. We hold these truths to be self-evident. It was not just political rhetoric. It was the beginning of a new definition of human equality. That phrase didn't just belong to a document. It belonged to a philosophy that redefined a nation's direction. Language, written with conviction, became a weapon more effective than violence and more enduring than policy. Every innovation, every social leap, every collective uprising from civil rights to climate action has been grounded in the mobilization of people through narrative. A movement needs people, but people need a reason, and that reason is most often delivered through carefully chosen words. The words give shape to abstract emotion. They articulate shared frustration, collective hope, and unrealized vision. Until language enters the scene, the cause remains fragmented and internal. Once spoken aloud, it becomes unified and externalized. Technology itself rides the wave of linguistic movements. Think different. Move fast and break things. The computer for the rest of us. These aren't product features. They're declarations. They frame the purpose behind the tool. They tap into emotion and identity. Before the hardware, before the code, there was a phrase that promised a better future. People don't rally around circuitry, they rally around purpose, and purpose is transmitted through words. Consider the civil rights movement. Yes, it was fueled by marches, resistance, and legislation. But before all of that came the speeches. I have a dream. Those 4 words alone moved the hearts of generations and became synonymous with the fight for equality. Doctor, King didn't just describe injustice, he cast a vision of what could be. He painted a picture of an alternate future. That's what leaders do with language. They don't just speak, they awaken. Words also become rallying points. Me too. Yes, we can. Black Lives Matter. These are not just hashtags or slogans. They are entry points into shared consciousness. They carry with them a world of emotion, experience, and moral stance. They simplify the complexity of pain or aspiration into something repeatable and shareable. That's why they spread. That's why they matter. In the digital age especially, the right phrase can move faster than any campaign or press release. One sentence can galvanize millions. Even movements in business, design, and technology rely on language to scale. A startup doesn't just need a pitch, it needs a mission. A team doesn't just need instructions, it needs a message. When internal culture aligns with a compelling narrative, people don't just comply, they commit. Vision-driven language transforms a workplace from a group of workers into a community of believers. That's the difference between compliance and conviction. Movements succeed when people see themselves inside the language. When a message says, "This is about you, you belong here, you matter," it activates the individual. No one joins a cause they don't emotionally connect with. That connection is forged through language that is simple, honest, and bold. Not language that instructs, but language that invites. Throughout history, great leaders have understood this. They spent more time refining their message than organizing their efforts, because they knew if the message is clear, the people will follow. Not blindly, but willingly. It's not manipulation. It's alignment. It's the ability to put into words what others feel but cannot yet say. That power is rare, but it is learnable, and when harnessed, it builds momentum faster than money or force ever could. Movements don't wait for permission. They don't wait for systems to approve them. They begin when someone dares to speak clearly, courageously, and repeatedly. One voice becomes two, two becomes 200. Then 2 million, but the seed is always the same. It's a sentence, a declaration, a set of words that dares to define a different future. That's the quiet power of language in movement, building. It's not loud at first. It's not always dramatic, but when it's right, it resonates. And once it resonates, nothing can stop what follows. Words are tools, but they are also weapons. Their impact extends far beyond the moment they are spoken. A single sentence uttered in seconds can take years to undo. Words can construct confidence or crush identity. They can strengthen a team or shatter trust. In every interaction, personal, professional, public, language has the capacity to elevate or to erode. When someone hears, "You have what it takes," a door opens internally. That phrase becomes an internal anchor that holds steady in uncertainty. On the other hand, "You're not good enough," becomes a weight. It embeds itself, sometimes permanently, into how someone views their value. What seems like a passing comment often becomes a foundational belief. The person who hears it may forget the face that said it, but they won't forget the sentence. That's how words imprint. They don't just touch ears, they shape memory. In leadership, the power of language is amplified. Titles confer authority, but it is words that create influence. A leader who praises effort inspires more effort. A leader who uses sarcasm or dismissiveness damages morale without even realizing it. When someone in power says, "I believe in you," that belief becomes contagious. Conversely, if a leader says, "I don't think you're ready," even with good intent, it can plant self-doubt deep enough to limit a career. Language sets the emotional tone of an organization one word at a time. Words are culture, building devices. The tone of a workplace is not set by its policies, but by its conversations. Culture is built in meetings, feedback sessions, and casual hallway moments. The phrase is repeated most often: "We take responsibility," or "That's not my job," define the unspoken rules of behavior. Empowering language spreads, so does toxic language. One sarcastic comment in a team meeting might silence innovation for weeks. One word of encouragement might unlock a solution that transforms an entire process. On a more personal level, relationships rise and fall on language. In high-trust environments, people use words to understand, connect, and affirm. In low-trust environments, words are used defensively as shields or daggers. Consider the difference between "Why did you do that?" and "Help me understand your thinking." The first is accusatory, the second is collaborative. Same context, different approach, and completely different outcomes. Tone matters, but so does framing. People don't just hear what you say, they feel what you mean. In parenting, words are especially formative. A child hears everything, not just the instructions, but the tone, the subtext, the implication. Telling a child, "You always mess things up," does more than criticize behavior. It labels identity. It writes a belief into their internal script. Alternatively, saying, "You made a mistake, but I see how hard you're trying," separates behavior from worth. One sentence may build resilience. The other may build shame. Words leave marks long after the moment has passed. Even silence, when paired with the wrong words, can destroy trust. "I'm fine," when clearly something is wrong, creates confusion and emotional distance. Language that avoids honesty or conceals pain may protect in the short term, but damages in the long term. Authenticity in words is just as important as content. People crave truth, not polish. A carefully chosen word spoken with sincerity carries more impact than any performance. Technology has accelerated the reach of language. A single tweet can uplift an entire community. A poorly worded message can ruin a reputation overnight. The digital age doesn't forget, and it rarely forgives. Words travel faster than intent. What was meant as a joke can be interpreted as judgment. What was meant as critique can be received as cruelty. The permanence of written communication means the stakes are higher than ever. Precision, empathy, and clarity are not optional, they are essential. In conflict, words can de-escalate or ignite. Saying "I hear you" creates space. Saying "You always do this" provokes defensiveness. Language can either build bridges or build walls. When people say, "It's not what you said, it's how you said it," they're referring to the emotional architecture of communication. Words have structure. Some hold people up, some cave people in. Understanding that difference is the beginning of real emotional intelligence. Great communicators aren't just persuasive, they're responsible. They understand that language has a half-life. What you say today might still be echoing in someone's mind next year. That's why thoughtful speech matters, because words can build confidence, relationships, cultures, and futures. Or, if misused, they can silently dismantle them piece by piece, one phrase at a time. Silence is often misunderstood as strength. In certain moments, restraint matters, but silence is not inherently powerful. Power comes not from withholding words, but from delivering the right ones with precision and purpose. There is a difference between being quiet and being intentional. People do not follow silence. They follow clarity. Leadership, influence, and trust are earned by those who speak when it counts, not those who say nothing at all. In high-stakes environments, silence can be dangerous. Teams interpret a leader's silence as uncertainty. Silence during moments of crisis or conflict can be read as avoidance or indifference. A leader who does not speak in critical moments leaves a vacuum, and vacuums are always filled. Sometimes with fear, other times with misinformation. The absence of communication does not create confidence. It creates confusion. Thoughtful speech, on the other hand, centers people. It offers direction in uncertainty. It reinforces values when systems are under pressure. It reminds teams what matters most when everything else feels volatile. Words can ground people, not just through answers, but through honesty. Saying, "I don't know, but here's what we do next," is more powerful than silence wrapped in false poise. Vulnerability in language, when paired with clarity, breeds trust. Every organization, family, and community faces moments where direction is needed. Silence in these moments is interpreted as disconnection. Silence in feedback creates doubt. Silence in appreciation erodes morale. People thrive on acknowledgement, not flattery, but real, specific recognition. A well-timed sentence can reinforce alignment more effectively than a bonus or policy change. "I saw how you handled that, it made a difference." That kind of speech is short but powerful. In relationships, silence often becomes a wall. People don't drift apart because they grow differently. They drift apart because they stop speaking meaningfully. Avoiding hard conversations doesn't prevent conflict. It preserves it. Thoughtful speech isn't about being right. It's about being real. It's the willingness to say, "This matters to me," or "This hurt," or "I value us enough to speak," even if it's difficult. Silence maintains comfort. Speech creates growth. In team dynamics, clarity in communication is a force multiplier. The best teams are not the ones with the most talent. They are the ones with the clearest dialogue. They know who's doing what, why it matters, and how it connects. Thoughtful speech means asking questions that reveal what others really think, not just what they think you want to hear. It means framing feedback in a way that moves people forward, rather than shutting them down. "Here's what I noticed, and here's how we can improve it together." That's thoughtful speech. It opens the door instead of closing it. Silence in moments of innovation is also a missed opportunity. The person with the idea who doesn't share it out of fear or doubt allows potential to remain locked. In contrast, thoughtful speech asks, "What if we tried this?" Or "Has anyone considered a different approach?" These are not loud declarations. They are small, intentional openings for new thought, and they often change everything. Cultures of innovation are built not by genius, but by people who are brave enough to speak thoughtfully in uncertain territory. Thoughtful speech is not fast, it's deliberate. It takes effort to choose words that carry both truth and care. It means pausing before responding. It means editing before reacting. Thoughtful speakers know that speed is not the same as strength. They understand that reflection adds weight to words. Every word that comes from that space lands with more impact because it has been shaped with respect, not just for the topic, but for the listener. In leadership, thoughtful speech is the foundation of vision. It means painting the picture of a future that others can see, feel, and believe in. A vision isn't powerful because it's grand, it's powerful because it's clear and personal. Here's what we're building, here's why it matters, and here's your role in it. That level of articulation does not happen by accident. It's crafted with care, it invites participation, It replaces silence with shared purpose. People often assume that if they stay silent, they won't make mistakes. But silence makes its own kind of mistake, the kind that comes from absence, from missed connection, from the words never said. Every moment we choose to speak with intention, we design a better outcome, not always easier, not always perfect, but better, because clarity drives movement and thoughtful speech builds momentum that silence never will.